Ребята, всем привет! Сегодня снимаю долгожданный ответ на вопрос. Вы меня очень-очень часто спрашиваете посоветовать вам учителя по английскому языку, который будет нормально преподавать, у которого будет нормальный акцент, который сам будет знать, о чем говорит, да? Вы меня часто спрашиваете тоже, преподаю ли я сама. Я пока что сама не преподаю, потому что у меня какая-то сумасшедшая загруженность, но если я начну преподавать, я обязательно об этом скажу, потому что мне нравится общаться с ребятами. Так вот, сегодня будет видео с Джонатаном, который из Калифорнии, который уже больше 10 лет преподает английский. Ребята, которые с ним занимаются, уже поступили в топовые университеты США. Он готовит не только вот стандартный английский, да, то есть если у вас пока еще низкий уровень, вам нету смысла начинать готовиться к экзаменам, вам лучше сначала потянуть там грамматику, письмо и так далее. Вот он готовит, начиная от самого низкого уровня, да, и заканчивая подготовкой к GMAT, да, к части verbal, к IELTS, к TOEFL, то есть любой экзамен вы с ним можете проработать. Занимается он по скайпу, из любого места, да, вы можете заниматься, учитель проверенный, то есть я просто часто видела, как ребята занимаются по скайпу английским, занимаются с русскоязычными преподавателями, и у меня, если честно, уши в трубочку сворачивались от того, что им преподаватели говорят, и, ну, на самом деле, это не уроки, это непонятно что, да, и мне кажется, очень важно, чтобы учитель был проверенный, чтобы вы шли на занятия с желанием показать свои новые знания, да, хотели говорить правильно, потому что, ну, вот, когда Джонатана слушаешь, у него чистейший калифорнийский акцент, когда его слушаешь, хочется самому правильно говорить. А это залог того, что вы будете развиваться. Если вы говорите с человеком, у которого прекрасный русский акцент, я думаю, никакой мотивации говорить классно у вас не будет. Поэтому посмотрите видео, я его сделала специально на английском без субтитров, я надеюсь, вы поймете. Мы с Джонатаном обсуждаем самые типичные ошибки, которые делают ребята, которые изучают язык. Я надеюсь, вам будет полезно. Занятия с Джонатаном можно забронировать по ссылочке выше. Enjoy, да, и оставьте, пожалуйста, свои комментарии, как вам Джонатан, как вам акцент, понимаете ли, что я говорю, понимаете ли, что он говорит, мне будет очень интересно. Всем приятного просмотра.
Okay, hey guys, I have a special guest today on my channel. I got so many questions about what is the best way to learn English when you're at home, when you're still preparing to go abroad, and I decided to invite a real English teacher here. He has been teaching English for how many years?
Teaching English professionally, probably about 10 years, 11 years now, with businesses.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and he's a native speaker, and I think the best way to learn English is to start learning English with a native speaker, because then you won't have to learn new things with a new teacher. You know, when you start learning English with, say, Russian teacher, then you learn Russian accent, then you have to, you know, learn everything again. And I also think that Californian accent is the best, and Jonathan is from California. So we have the best example of English, according to me. And yeah, today I just wanted to talk about top 5 mistakes that people make when learning English. And I'm not talking about grammar or spelling mistakes, I'm talking about mistakes in the learning process, because there are so many people that have been learning English for years, and then they arrive in a country, and it happened to me when I arrived in the UK, and I realized like I spent 10 years learning English and I still cannot speak it. I do not understand people, and I wanted to talk about those top 5 mistakes that people make that lead them to such results. And so Jonathan is going to help me. So yeah, could you name your top 5 reasons?
Okay. Well, thank you, Marina, for inviting me to the call. So yeah, I'd say some of the biggest mistakes learners might have when they begin in their studies would be, for example, to not have a plan, not determine what their goals are, and to like to make SMART goals, which are kind of specific, measurable, action oriented, results oriented, and time bound. So an example would be something like, if you said, like, I want to learn, or let's say I want to lose 12 kilos, that's specific. But if you just said, I want to lose weight, it's not really going to happen.
Yeah.
So language, you kind of need to set some initial goals of a certain number of vocabulary words, or be able to do something with the language by a certain date. I don't know, be able to introduce yourself in a week. So that would be a big mistake, is not having a plan, not having a goal, just kind of not really having an idea of how to go about learning the language. That would be the biggest one, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And if we're talking about university preparation, I would say like passing TOEFL prep test in a month and scoring some certain level. This would also be a good goal.
Perfectionism and trying to avoid mistakes. A lot of learners think that before they can start speaking with somebody or before they can start writing text, that they need everything to be perfect, waiting to get something perfect. And the flip side of that coin is kind of avoiding mistakes. And mistakes are really important in the language learning experience because you constantly need to like make a hypothesis and test it on terms of your knowledge. And if you're trying to get used to grammar or pronunciation or something related with the language, you kind of need to test your knowledge to always make sure, is this correct? And the only way to really test it and get feedback is by making a mistake. Most of the time, if it's correct, you don't really get feedback. People just nod their head and they continue with the conversation, or they don't give you any feedback. So actually, sometimes making a mistake on purpose can elicit a response from a native speaker or somebody else who knows the language well enough that the mistake is so bad that they have to intervene and correct.
And then you remember it better because learning in stress circumstances works better, because when you're trying to impress people and then you get bam, 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 this is not right, then because all your feelings are very intense, I think you'll learn faster.
After that, I'd say a little bit related to the goals would be just making sure you do something every day. A lot of people, again, okay, I'll study on the weekend when I'm free, when I have some free time. And this happens not just for language learning, but anything in life. If you don't set the time aside, nobody's going to give you that time. So, like, if you want to make something important in your schedule, you have to sit and say, okay, for these 30 minutes, no interruptions, the cell phone is off, the computer, the social media websites, they're off. Just kind of maybe go to a quiet room and just give yourself 30 minutes and do something with that time, be effective with it. But if you just wait for like, oh, I'll wait until I'm free, or maybe later tonight, maybe the kids will be asleep and I can have a moment to think, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I also advise people to get passionate about something. For example, if they find their favorite YouTuber who is YouTubing in English, then they would just get hooked up with him and watch him every day. Or I also advise to watch series in English because they are meant to hook you up. And then if you get excited, then you would just do anything to understand what your favorite actor is saying, for example.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah, so just get passionate about something. And I would recommend YouTuber, like any YouTuber who YouTubes in English, just Google top 10 and they would be great.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important point is that another mistake would be using very boring content that a student doesn't connect with. I'd say a mistake would be just doing something boring and using a technique that doesn't work for you just because somebody recommended it. If it doesn't work, change it, try something new, and adapt it to how you learn, what works for you. I guess my final one that I would say would be not speaking with native speakers. It's really important to make that contact as early as possible. And as I mentioned, like people who want to be perfectionist and avoid mistakes, they're going to be afraid to speak with a native speaker. And there are lots of people who do language exchanges, and those are good. But sometimes those people are not teachers, and they're not focused. They don't have the experience. They don't have the training to kind of really guide somebody. They can give the feedback, and they can say the pronunciation is good, or the vocabulary, you should say it this way. Maybe they don't know the grammar very well themselves. Maybe they make their own mistakes because not every native speaker speaks their language.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I would definitely say speaking with a native speaker who is also a teacher is a really good opportunity to make a lot of progress. And if you can find somebody who's really patient, it's going to be working with you, guiding you, coaching you, then you got probably a pretty good chance of improving the language as early as possible.
Yeah, and so if you're comfortable, you can do Skype lessons. If you're ready to go somewhere, the best way is just to immerse in the language environment for 2 weeks, like stay with a local family and take classes at school. So you would have a native speaker who is not a professional teacher in your family, and then you would have no choice but just speaking English, because you wouldn't be able to say what you want for breakfast, or if it's too cold in your room, because they wouldn't speak your own language. And then you will go to school and learn all the grammar and whatever you want.
Yeah, and those opportunities are excellent because I've seen this myself living abroad and in France or in Mexico. And when you're in that culture and you're there for a certain significant period of time, there's no off switch. When you're
Exactly.
living in your country and when you're connecting on Skype or some social media platform to speak with somebody or write text, there's an off switch. You can turn off the computer and go back to your culture and just you can kind of isolate yourself. But when you're in that culture, it's kind of a sink or swim experience, and I think there's a fight or flight mechanism that kind of gets turned on in the brain, and you have to react and you have to start learning the language, and you have to make an effort.
And I also wanted to say, if you guys are looking for an English language teacher, Jonathan is now available on LinguaTrip because he has officially become our teacher. So this teacher is checked, proven by me, and if you want, you can book him on LinguaTrip. And if you have any questions, we're going to answer them in comments, so please comment, like, and share this video.